Captain Lee Daeho stood at the bridge of the human ship Resilience, watching the massive space station grow larger through the viewscreen. Station Nexus Prime was huge, bigger than any human city. 12 different alien races had built it together. Over 300 years ago, it was the center of everything important in the galaxy. Today would change everything. "Captain, we are getting a message from the station," said Lieutenant Park Jin-ho from his seat at the communications panel. "They want us to dock at Bay 47. "Do it," Daeho said. His voice was calm, but inside, he felt worried. The Galactic Council had called this meeting suddenly. No explanation, no warning, just a simple message. Human representatives must attend. Emergency session immediately. Behind him, Ambassador Park Min-ji was reading through her papers for the 10th time. She was Earth's top diplomat, smart and tough. But even she looked nervous today. "Any idea what this is about?" Daeho asked her. Min-ji shook her head. "Nothing good. 3 human colonies reported strange visits from council ships last week. They were asking questions about our mining operations and our new settlements." The Resilience docked with a soft thud. Soon Daeho and Min-ji were walking through the station's corridors. The place always amazed humans who visited. The walls were made of some kind of living metal that glowed softly. The air tasted clean and fresh, better than Earth air. Different aliens walked by, some tall and thin, others short and wide, some that looked like floating clouds. Most of them stared at the humans as they passed, not friendly stares. They reached the council chamber, a huge room with 12 high seats arranged in a circle. Each seat was different, made for a different alien race. In the center was a small platform where people could speak. The 12 council members were already there. Daeho recognized most of them from his studies. There was Vex Prime, the Zenthari military leader with his silver skin and red eyes. Next to him sat Speaker Thalen of the Maw Collective, her blue tentacles moving slowly in the air. The others were just as impressive and scary. Ambassador Park Min-gi, of Earth, announced a mechanical voice. "Please step forward." Min-gi walked to the center platform. Her footsteps echoed in the big room. "Honored council members, thank you for this meeting. How may Earth serve the galaxy today?" Vex Prime stood up first. When he spoke, his voice was like metal scraping metal. "You may serve by explaining why humans continue to expand into forbidden sectors." "Forbidden." Min-ji kept her voice steady. "The Treaty of Worlds clearly states that any empty systems may be settled by council races. Humans are council members." "Junior members," hissed Speaker Thlan. "Junior members who ignore proper protocols." Another council member spoke up, Coordinator Zilf, of the Helix Network. His body looked like a collection of floating crystals. "Your species takes too much. Too fast. You build where you should not build. You mine what you should not mine. We follow all council laws," Min-gi said. "Laws, yes," said Prime Vex. "But not wisdom, not caution. Your people are like children with dangerous toys." Daeho felt anger rising in his chest. He had fought in 3 space battles protecting council trade routes. He had lost friends defending alien colonies from pirates. Now they called humans children. The council members were all standing now. Speaker Thalen's tentacles moved faster, a sign of excitement or anger among her people. "We have made a decision," she announced. "A unanimous decision." The room went very quiet. Even the air recycling systems seemed to pause. Effective immediately, the human species is suspended from all council activities. All trade agreements are cancelled. All technology sharing agreements are ended. All diplomatic relations are cut. Min-ji's face went white. "You're expelling us from the council?" "We are isolating you," said Coordinator Zilf, "until you learn to be civilized. Until you learn your place." "This is illegal under council law," Min-gi said, her voice shaking with anger. Prime Vex laughed. A sound like breaking glass. "We are the council. We make the laws." Daeho stepped forward. "You can't do this. Humans have served the galaxy faithfully for 50 years. We've bled for you, we've died for you. And you have been paid for your service. said another council member, Director Kef of the Void Swimmers. Now that service is no longer needed. The mechanical voice spoke again. Human vessels have one galactic standard day to leave Council space. Any human ships found in Council territory after that time will be destroyed. Minji looked at each council member in turn. Her diplomatic training was fighting with her human anger. Finally, she spoke. You think this will destroy us? You think cutting us off from your technology and your trade will make us collapse? You think we will come crawling back, begging to be your junior partners again? She walked closer to the council seats. You're making the biggest mistake in galactic history. Prime Vex leaned forward. Is that a threat, human? No, Minji said. Her voice was now completely calm. It's a promise. You've spent 300 years building your perfect little system. Everyone follows your rules. Everyone uses your technology. Everyone thinks your thoughts. She turned to face all 12 council members. But humans are different. We don't think like you. We don't build like you. We don't fight like you. You've kept us in your cage for 50 years, and we've played by your rules because we thought we were part of something bigger. Her voice grew stronger. Now you've opened that cage. You've freed us from your limitations. You've given us permission to be what we really are. Speaker Thalan's tentacles stopped moving. What is your point, human? Minji smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. My point is this. You may have cut us off from the galaxy, but you've also cut the galaxy off from humanity. You have no idea what we're capable of when we're not trying to fit into your neat little system. She turned and walked toward the exit. When we meet again, and we will meet again, the galaxy will be a very different place. Daeho followed her out of the chamber. Behind them, the council members sat in silence. As they walked back to their ship, Mingi was quiet. Finally, Daeho asked, What do we do now? Mingi looked out a window, at the stars beyond the station. Now, we go home. We tell our people what happened, and then we show these aliens what humans can really do. The Resilience left Station Nexus Prime 6 hours later. It would be the last human ship to dock there peacefully for a very long time. The galaxy had just made its worst enemy. It just didn't know it yet. 6 months after the Council's decision, engineer Kim Wonho stood in the largest factory on Mars. The place was louder than a thunderstorm. Hundreds of humans worked day and night, building things that had never been built before. Show me the power readings again. Wonho said to his assistant. Dr. Yoon Hana pulled up the numbers on her tablet. The new fusion reactor is running at 340% of Council standard efficiency, and it's completely stable. Wonho smiled. 6 months ago, humans had used fusion reactors designed by the More Collective. They worked fine, but humans never understood how they really worked. The aliens had given them the plans, but not the science behind them. When the Council cut off all technology sharing, every human fusion reactor should have broken down within weeks. The aliens expected human colonies to go dark, one by one. They were wrong. The funny thing is, Wonho said, watching sparks fly from a welding station, their design was actually pretty bad. They just made it work with brute force and expensive materials. Hannah nodded. Humans had to understand it to fix it. Once we understood it, we could improve it. The story was the same all across human space. When the food synthesizers broke down, human scientists didn't just fix them, they made them better. When the gravity generators failed, human engineers built new ones that used half the power. When the computer systems crashed, human programmers wrote new code that was 10 times faster. On Earth, President Kim Soo-jin was reading reports from every human colony. The news was better than anyone had dared to hope. Tell me about the farms, she said to her science advisor. Colony New Busan is now producing twice as much food as before, the advisor said. They had to stop using Xanthari agricultural pods when the council cut us off, so they went back to growing things in actual soil. Turns out human-grown food is more nutritious and tastes better. And the mining operations, even better news. The Helix Network's mining machines only worked on certain types of asteroids. Our new human-designed machines can mine anything. Colony New Sol just found deposits of rare metals that alien scanners completely missed. President Kim leaned back in her chair. What about the military? The advisor's face grew serious. Colonel Choi Yemen wants to speak with you about that personally. An hour later, Colonel Choi sat across from the president. He was a small man with quiet eyes, but everyone knew he was the smartest military mind in human space. The aliens made a big mistake, he said without introduction. They taught us their fighting methods for 50 years. Now we know exactly how they think in battle, and they fight like computers. Everything follows patterns. When they see situation A, they always respond with tactic B. It works fine when fighting other aliens who also think like computers. President Kim waited for him to continue. But humans don't think like computers. We get creative. We do crazy things that don't make sense. We change our plans in the middle of a fight. The colonel pulled out a tablet and showed her a video. Watch this training exercise. Human squad versus computer simulation of Xanthari squad. On the screen, 12 human soldiers were fighting against a computer program that fought exactly like Xanthari warriors. The humans should have lost. They had older weapons and fewer soldiers. Instead, they won in under 10 minutes. President Kim asked. The computer expected them to take cover and fight defensively. Instead, they split into 3 groups and attacked from impossible angles. The computer couldn't adapt fast enough. Similar stories were coming from everywhere. On Colony New Incheon, Dr. Park Sun-ho had figured out how to build computer chips that were smaller and faster than anything the council used. His secret was using human brain patterns as a template. Other aliens think in straight lines, he explained to his research team. Humans think in circles and spirals and zigzags. Our computer chips do the same thing. On Colony New Daegu, Captain Nam Sora was training the first all-human military unit in 50 years. Before the council's decision, human soldiers always fought alongside aliens, following alien battle plans. Now they were free to fight like humans. Forget everything the aliens taught you about honorable combat, she told her soldiers. Honor doesn't keep you alive. Being unpredictable does. Her soldiers were learning things that would have horrified the council. They learned to lie to enemies. They learned to pretend to retreat and then attack. They learned to use their emotions, fear, anger, love for their families to fight harder than any alien could imagine. But the biggest breakthrough came from an unexpected place. Dr. Yoon Hannah was working late in her lab on Mars when she made the discovery that would change everything. She was trying to fix a broken computer interface, the kind that aliens use to control their ships with their minds. The interface was designed for more collective brains. With their simple logical thought patterns, it should never work with human brains, which were messy and complicated and emotional. But Hannah was desperate. Her research needed the processing power that only the big alien computers could provide. So she tried connecting her own brain to the interface, just to see what would happen. The results nearly killed her. For 3 seconds, her mind was connected to the computer directly. In those 3 seconds, she processed more information than a team of aliens could handle in a week. The computer nearly overloaded from the complexity of human thoughts. When she recovered, Hannah realized what had happened. Human brains weren't worse than alien brains. They were different, more complex, more creative, more powerful, and if she could build an interface designed for human brains instead of alien ones, within a month, she had a prototype. Within 2 months, she had a working system. Human pilots could now control their ships by thinking, but they could also do things that aliens never could. They could run multiple calculations at once. They could make intuitive leaps that computers couldn't follow. They could adapt to new situations instantly. The first test pilot was Captain Lee Minho, from Colony New Gwangju. He put on Hannah's new interface and connected his mind to a small fighter ship. "This is incredible," he said, his voice filled with wonder. "I can feel the ship like it's part of my body. I can sense things that the senses can't detect. I can think in ways I never thought before." Word of the breakthrough spread quickly through human space. Soon, every human colony was working to build their own versions of Hannah's interface. The aliens had cut humans off from their technology, expecting them to become primitive and weak. Instead, humans were becoming something new, something the galaxy had never seen before. In the council chambers on Station Nexus Prime, Prime Vex was reading reports from council spy ships that watched human colonies from a distance. "This is impossible," he said to Speaker Thalen. "Their technology readings are off our charts. They're building things that shouldn't exist." "Perhaps our sensors are malfunctioning," Darlin suggested. "I've checked 3 times. The humans are not collapsing. They're evolving." Neither alien spoke for a long time. Finally, Thalen asked, "What do we do?" Prime Vex stared at the reports. "We wait. And we hope we didn't make the worst mistake in galactic history." Back on Mars, engineer Kim Won-ho was looking out at the construction sites where humans were building their new future. Ships that could think. Weapons that could adapt. Computers that could dream. 6 months ago, we were junior partners in their galaxy, he said to Dr. Hannah. "And now?" she asked. Won-ho smiled. "Now we're building our own." 1 year after the council's decision, Admiral Song Kung-ho was having his morning coffee when the emergency alarm started screaming. "Admiral, we have incoming ships," shouted Lieutenant Yu Ji-soo from the communications panel. "Zenthari War Fleet, 30 vessels strong." Song put down his cup and walked to the bridge viewscreen. In the distance, he could see the enemy ships approaching Colony New Gangwon. They were big, dark, and built for killing. "How long until they reach the colony?" he asked. 2 hours, sir," Song nodded. The Zenthari had finally decided to act. For months, Council spy ships had been watching human colonies, seeing the new technology, the impossible advances. Prime Vex had clearly decided that humans were becoming too dangerous. "Send a message to all human colonies," Song ordered. "Tell them the war has started." On Colony New Gangwon, Captain Nom Sora was watching her soldiers prepare for battle. These weren't the same humans who had fought alongside aliens for 50 years. These soldiers had trained in secret, learning to fight in ways that would shock the galaxy. "Remember what we practiced," she told her troops. "The Zenthari fight like machines. Perfect formations, perfect timing, perfect predictability." Her soldiers laughed. They knew what was coming. "But we don't fight like machines, do we?" "No, sir," they shouted back. The Zenthari fleet arrived exactly on schedule. Prime Vex himself was commanding from the lead ship, expecting an easy victory. According to his intelligence, the human colony had only 12 defensive ships and 300 ground soldiers. What he didn't know was that humans had been very busy for the past year. "Human vessels, surrender immediately," came the Zenth message. "Your species has violated galactic law by developing forbidden technologies. Submit to council justice." Admiral Song's response was short. "Come and take us." The battle began exactly as Prime Vex expected. The human ships moved into standard defensive positions around the colony. The Zenthari ships advanced in their traditional attack formation, a move that had worked against every enemy for 300 years. Then something impossible happened. The human ships simply vanished. Where did they go? Prime Vex demanded from his bridge. His sensors officer was staring at his screens in confusion. I don't know, sir. They were there, and then they weren't." What the Zenthari didn't know was that Dr. Yoon Hannah had solved the mystery of faster-than-light travel. Alien ships could only jump to predetermined coordinates, following safe routes mapped out centuries ago. But human ships, controlled by human brain interfaces, could make micro-jumps anywhere they wanted. Admiral Song's fleet hadn't retreated. They had jumped behind the Zenthari ships. Now, Song whispered. 12 human ships appeared out of nowhere, surrounding the Zenthari fleet. But they weren't attacking with traditional weapons. Instead, they were using something the aliens had never seen before. DAT's engineer Kim Won-ho had discovered that human computers could think in ways alien computers couldn't. They could create viruses that adapted and learned. They could hack into alien systems in real time, changing their tactics every second. The first Xanthari ship lost power as its own computer systems turned against it. The second ship's weapons started firing randomly. The third ship's life support failed. "What is happening?" Prime Vex screamed. His answer came from Admiral Song's ship. "You're fighting humans now." Half the Xanthari fleet was disabled within minutes. The other half tried to retreat, but human ships were already waiting for them at every escape route. On the colony surface, Captain Nomsora was leading her ground forces against Xanthari soldiers who had landed before the space battle started. The aliens expected the humans to fight defensively, hiding behind barriers and following military textbooks instead. Sora's soldiers did something that horrified the Xanthari. They fought dirty. Human soldiers pretended to be wounded, then attacked. When enemies came close, they used the environment as a weapon, collapsing buildings on alien troops. They fought at night, using their superior night vision. They used psychological warfare, playing recordings of alien death screams to terrify their enemies. Most shocking of all, they fought with emotion. Xanthari warriors were trained to be calm and logical in battle. But human soldiers fought with love for their families, anger at the invasion, and determination to protect their home. The result was a massacre. Not of humans, of Xanthari. Within 6 hours, the battle was over. 28 Xanthari ships were captured or destroyed. 2 escaped to tell the story. On the ground, 300 human soldiers had defeated 2,000 Xanthari warriors. Prime Vex found himself prisoner on his own flagship, now controlled by human marines. "This is impossible," he said to Admiral Song. "Your species is primitive. You have inferior technology. You should not have been able to defeat us." Song sat across from the alien commander, studying his silver skin and red eyes. "You still don't understand, do you?" "Understand what?" "For 50 years, you kept us in a cage. You gave us your old technology and told us to be grateful. You taught us your fighting methods and expected us to never improve them. You treated us like children who would never grow up." Song leaned forward. "But children do grow up. And when they do, they see all the mistakes their parents made." Prime Vex said nothing. "Your technology is old and rigid. Your fighting methods are predictable. Your whole civilization is built on the idea that there's only one right way to do everything." Song stood up. "But humans don't think that way. We believe there are always better solutions, always new approaches, always room for improvement." The Admiral walked to the view screen, looking out at the colony that had just survived its first battle. "You isolated us because you were afraid of human ambition. You should have been afraid of human creativity." News of the Battle of New Gangwon spread across the galaxy faster than light-speed communication. For the first time in galactic history, a council race had suffered a complete military defeat. On Station Nexus Prime, the 12 council members sat in emergency session. "This changes everything," said Speaker Thalen, her tentacles moving nervously. "The humans have developed new technology in just 1 year," said Coordinator Zilf. "Technology that our scientists say is theoretically impossible. They're not following our rules anymore," added Director Kef. "They're writing new rules." The council chamber was quiet for a long time. Finally, Speaker Thalen asked the question they were all thinking. What if we made a mistake? But it was too late for that question. 3 more council fleets were already moving toward human space. The war was spreading on Earth. President Kim Soo-jin was reading reports from the battle. Her military advisors were celebrating, but she looked worried. "This is just the beginning," she told them. "The council won't accept this defeat. They'll send everything they have against us." Colonel Choi Yemen nodded. "But now other species will be watching. They'll see that the council can be beaten. That's what I'm afraid of," President Kim said. "We've just started a war that could tear the galaxy apart." But in the outer colonies, humans were already preparing for the next battle. And in the laboratories and factories scattered across human space, scientists and engineers were working on new innovations that would make the Battle of New Gangwon look like a small skirmish. The galaxy was about to learn that waking up humanity had been the biggest mistake in its history. Admiral Song, still aboard the captured Xanthari flagship, was looking at star maps when Dr. Yoon Hana called from Mars. "Admiral, I have something to show you," she said. "Something that will change everything." "What is it?" "I've figured out how to make our ships think, not just compute, actually think, like humans think." Song stared at the communication screen. "Are you saying what I think you're saying?" "Yes. Sir, we're not just building better ships anymore. We're building ships with souls." The war was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. But now the humans had something their enemies could never understand: the power to create life itself. 18 months after the Council's decision, diplomat Shin Junwoo was sitting in a small ship, waiting for the most important meeting in human history. He was nervous, but trying not to show it. "They're coming," said his pilot, Captain On Min. Pointing at the view screen, 3 alien ships were approaching, but these weren't council vessels. They were smaller, older, and painted with symbols that humans had never seen before. The first ship belonged to the Kef Collective, a race of small, furry creatures who looked like space rabbits. The second ship carried representatives from the Wanderer clans, nomadic traders who lived in space and never settled on planets. The third ship held delegates from the Silicon Mine's artificial intelligences, who had gained independence from their creators centuries ago. All 3 races were tired of the Council's rules. "Welcome to neutral space," Shin said when the alien representatives boarded his ship. "Thank you for coming." The Kef delegate, a small female named Terra, spoke first. Her voice was high and musical. "We watched your battle at New Gangwon. Very impressive, very ... educational." "Educational, how?" Shin asked. "It showed us that the Council can be defeated," said the Wanderer representative, a tall, thin being called Nomad 7. "We have dreamed of this for generations." The Silicon Mind delegate was harder to understand. It looked like a collection of floating metal spheres that talked by flashing lights. Its translator spoke in a mechanical voice. Query: do humans seek alliance or dominance? "Alliance," Shin said immediately. "Humans don't want to rule the galaxy, we want to change it." The meeting lasted 6 hours. By the end, humanity had its first allies. But the real changes were happening elsewhere. On a small planet called Refuge, Dr. Bae Yoonji was working with alien scientists for the first time in over a year. The planet was home to refugees from all 3 allied races, people who had left council space because they wanted freedom to think and create. "Show me your energy research again," Bae said to Kef scientist Pip-7. The furry alien pulled up holographic displays showing power generation methods that the council had banned centuries ago. "My people discovered this before we joined the council. We were told it was too dangerous to develop." "Dangerous how?" "It produces too much energy. The council said it would destabilize their power grids." Bae studied the data. "This isn't dangerous, it's revolutionary. The council banned it because it would make their technology obsolete." Within weeks, Bae's team had combined Kiev energy research with human innovation. The result was power generators that could fuel entire star systems while being small enough to fit in a backpack. Similar breakthroughs were happening everywhere the Allies worked together. Wanderer clan navigators taught humans about secret space, routes that the Council didn't know existed. These paths had been hidden for thousands of years, used only by traders and refugees who wanted to avoid Council patrols. "Your people jump in straight lines," explained Wanderer navigator Driftwind to human pilot Lee Sangmin. "Council ships do the same. But space is not straight. It curves and folds and loops." Using Wanderer knowledge and human creativity, Allied ships could now travel anywhere in the galaxy without being detected. They could appear behind enemy fleets, deliver supplies to hidden bases, or evacuate civilians from war zones. The Silicon Mines shared something even more valuable: information. For centuries, they had been secretly copying and storing every piece of data in Council space. Government files, military plans, scientific research, personal communications, they had it all. We observe everything, explained Silicon Mind Unit Delta Prime 2, General Park Taeyong. The Council treats us as machines, so they speak freely. Around us, they do not realize we remember everything. This intelligence network gave the Allies a huge advantage. They knew Council military movements before the orders were even given. They knew which Council members were having doubts about the war. They knew about secret weapons programs and political fights between alien races. But the most important thing they learned was that the Council was falling apart. On Station Nexus Prime, the 12 Council members were having their worst fight in 300 years. "This is madness," Speaker Thalen was saying, her tentacles thrashing wildly. "We have lost 6 fleets to human tactics we don't understand. Our member worlds are questioning our leadership. 3 races have already left the Council to join these free systems. The humans must be stopped," growled Prime Vex. His silver skin was scarred from his capture at New Gangwon, and his red eyes burned with anger. "We should destroy their home world as an example, and start a genocide war?" asked Coordinator Zilf, his crystal body flashing angry colors. "That would turn every neutral race against us." Director Kef of the Void Swimmers spoke from her water tank. "Perhaps we should negotiate. The humans might accept some form of restricted membership. Never." Prime Vex slammed his fist on the table. "They are primitives who got lucky. One major assault will crush them." But other Council members were not so sure. "Look at these reports," said Science Director Morpheus, a gaseous being who spoke through speakers. "Human technology is advancing faster than our models say is possible. They are developing things our best scientists call impossible." The argument went on for hours. In the end, the Council split into 2 groups: those who wanted to negotiate with humans and those who wanted to destroy them completely. This division was exactly what the Allies had been hoping for. General Park Taeyong was reading intelligence reports in his command center on Colony New Olsen when the best news arrived. "Sir, we have confirmation," said his aide, Lieutenant Kim He. "The Bright Star Federation has officially left the Council. They're requesting alliance with the Free Systems." Park smiled. The Bright Star Federation controlled 12 star systems and had one of the galaxy's largest merchant fleets. More importantly, they were the first major Council race to switch sides. "Any word from the others?" "The Tree People are holding a vote next week. The Ocean Dwellers are sending secret ambassadors to meet with our diplomats, and the Storm Riders have started refusing Council military orders." The cascade was accelerating. Every day, more races were choosing freedom over Council control. But the most surprising ally came from an unexpected source. Dr. Hannah was testing her newest invention, ships with artificial minds, when she received a secret message. The signal came from deep in Council space, from a source that shouldn't exist. "This is Zenthari, Commander Vel Narkis," the message said. "I am speaking for Zenthari officers who believe Prime Vex has led our people down a path to destruction." Hannah nearly dropped her tablet. Zenthari were the Council's most loyal military race. A rebellion among their officers would be devastating to Council power. "We have studied human tactics," the message continued. "We have analyzed your innovations. We understand now that the Council has made our people weak by forbidding creativity and independent thought. The secret Zenthari rebels wanted to meet. They offered to share Council military secrets in exchange for protection when they defected." "Changes everything," Hannah told President Kim Soo-jin during their emergency call. "How so?" "If the Zenthari military starts breaking apart, the Council loses its main weapon. Without Zenthari fleets, they can't enforce their will on other races." President Kim was quiet for a moment. "Set up the meeting, but be careful. This could be a trap." Meanwhile, in the outer galaxy, something even more important was happening. Young people from dozens of alien races were leaving their home worlds to join the Free Systems. They came in small ships, in hidden cargo containers, even in escape pods. They were tired of living under Council rules that forbade innovation and independent thinking. Colony New Jeju became known as University World because so many young Alien scientists and engineers came there to work with humans. They shared knowledge that their own governments had kept secret for centuries. The Council has been holding back the entire galaxy, explained KEF student Zim9 to her human classmates. They banned thousands of technologies because they might threaten the established order. These young aliens brought fresh ideas that, combined with human creativity, led to breakthrough after breakthrough. Faster ships, better weapons, medical technology that could heal any injury, computer systems that could think and dream, communication networks that spanned the galaxy instantly. Within months, free systems technology was a full generation ahead of anything. The Council had the war was no longer about humans versus aliens. It had become a fight between the old way of thinking and the new, between rigid control and creative freedom, between fear and hope. And the old way was losing. Diplomat Shin Junwoo, now coordinator of the Free Systems Alliance, was looking at a map showing Allied territory. 6 months ago, humans had been alone. Now, 47 different races had joined the alliance. The Council still controls more space, his aide reminded him. For now, Shin replied. But every day, more people choose freedom. The cascade has started, and nothing can stop it. On the edge of Council space, Admiral Song Kyung-ho was preparing the largest fleet in human history. But this time, he wouldn't be fighting alone. KEF ships with their impossible energy weapons flew alongside human vessels. Wanderer raiders used their secret routes to scout ahead. Silicon mineships coordinated the fleet with perfect precision. The final battle was coming. But first, the galaxy would see something it had never seen before. A truly free civilization, built on cooperation, instead of control. 2 years after the Council's decision, Fleet Admiral Yu Saiyajin stood on the bridge of the New Hope, watching the largest space battle in galactic history unfold before him. The Council had gathered every loyal ship they could find, over 3,000 vessels from 8 different alien races. They were desperate to crush the Free Systems Alliance before more races joined the rebellion. But the Alliance fleet was something the galaxy had never seen before. Human ships flew alongside KEF energy fighters and Wanderer stealth raiders. Silicon mined vessels coordinated the entire fleet with perfect timing. Tree people, bioships, grew new weapons during the battle. Ocean dweller craft moved like water through space. Most shocking of all, Xanthari ships with black markings fought against their own people. Commander Velnokis had convinced 200 Xanthari officers to join the rebellion. All ships report. Ready, announced Communications Officer Park Juan. Admiral looked. You looked at the tactical display. Dr. Yang summons new consciousness transfer. Technology linked every Allied captain's mind together. For the first time in galactic history, a fleet could think as one while each ship remained independent. This is it, Yu said to his bridge crew. Today, we decide what kind of galaxy our children will inherit. The battle began when Prime Vex's flagship fired the first shot. Attack! The Xanthari commander screamed across all frequencies. Destroy the human virus before it spreads further. The Council fleet advanced in perfect formation, exactly as they had fought for 300 years. Xanthari warships in front, more collective cruisers behind them, support ships from other races protecting the flanks. It was beautiful, precise, and completely predictable. Admiral, you smiled. Let them come. All ships, execute Plan Chaos. What happened next broke every rule of space warfare. The Alliance fleet scattered in all directions. Some ships jumped behind the enemy. Others appeared above and below them. A few simply vanished from sensors, only to reappear in impossible positions. Human ships used their ghost jump technology to materialize inside enemy formations. KEF fighters unleashed energy weapons that could cut through any armor. Wanderer raiders attacked supply lines that Council commanders didn't even know existed. But the most devastating weapons were the ones nobody could see. Dr. Yang summons consciousness transfer system, allowed Alliance captains to share thoughts. Instantly, when one captain learned something useful, every other captain knew it immediately. When someone discovered an enemy weakness, The entire fleet adapted within seconds. The Council fleet, fighting with old-style communication systems, couldn't keep up. By the time they received orders, the battle had already changed. Impossible. Prime Vex shouted as his tactical displays showed Alliance ships appearing everywhere at once. How are they coordinating so perfectly? His answer came from Commander Velnokis, whose rebel Xanthari ships were cutting through Council formations like knives through paper. They fight like a single organism with 10,000 bodies, Velnokis broadcast on all frequencies. This is what cooperation looks like, Prime Vex. This is what we could have been if you hadn't forbidden innovation. The tide of battle turned quickly. Council ships, designed for rigid formations, couldn't adapt to the chaotic alliance tactics. Captains who had never been allowed to think independently couldn't suddenly become creative. But Admiral Yu wasn't trying to destroy the Council fleet, he was trying to save it. Attention all Council vessels, he broadcast. You are fighting for leaders who have kept your races in chains for centuries. Your crews are dying for a system that forbids you to reach your full potential. On Council ships throughout the battle zone, crew members were listening. Look around you, you continued. See how former enemies now fight side by side. Humans working with Kef Xanthari fighting alongside wanderers. Different species, united by a simple idea, that all thinking beings deserve freedom. The first Council ship to surrender was a more collective cruiser. Its captain, faced with destruction, chose to join the side that offered hope instead of fear. Then, another ship laid down its weapons. Then 10 more. Then 50. Prime Vex watched in horror as his own fleet began to dissolve. Traitors, he screamed. You are all traitors to galactic order. But even his own crew was starting to doubt. Young Xanthari officers who had grown up hearing stories of the old days, when their people were explorers and innovators instead of just soldiers, began to question why they were fighting. The battle ended not with a great explosion, but with a simple message broadcast from the New Hope. This is Admiral Usaigen of the Free Systems Alliance. To all beings in this star system, the war is over. Not because we destroyed our enemies, but because we have shown them a better way. On the view screen, you could see hundreds of Council ships floating peacefully. Most had surrendered. Others had simply stopped fighting and were requesting permission to join the Alliance. Today marks the end of the Galactic Council's reign, you announced. But it also marks the beginning of something new. A galaxy where every species can contribute their unique gifts. Where innovation is encouraged, not forbidden. Where cooperation replaces domination. Prime Vex's flagship was one of the few ships still fighting. The Xanthari commander refused to surrender, even as his bridge caught fire around him. I will not live in a galaxy ruled by primitives, he snarled into his communicator. Nobody wants to rule the galaxy, replied Commander Vel Nokis, whose ship had cornered Prime Vex. That's the point you never understood. The last battle of the war lasted only minutes. Prime Vex died at his command post, still believing that strength meant control instead of cooperation. 3 months later, Ambassador Lee Sumin stood before the first Galactic Assembly in the galaxy's history. The meeting was held on New Democracy, a planet built specifically for this purpose. Unlike the old council chambers where 12 races made decisions for everyone, this assembly hall had seats for representatives from over 200 different species. 2 years ago, Lee began, the Galactic Council tried to destroy humanity by cutting us off from galactic civilization. They thought isolation would make us weak. The audience aliens from across the galaxy listened carefully. They were wrong. Isolation didn't destroy us, it freed us. It forced us to innovate, to adapt, to become something new. And in becoming something new, we showed the galaxy that change was possible. Lee looked out at the diverse crowd. Kef delegates sat next to former council members. Xanthari rebels talked quietly with human diplomats. Young aliens from dozens of species worked together as translators and assistants. Today, we are not here to celebrate humanity's victory. We are here to celebrate everyone's victory. The victory of hope over fear, of creativity over stagnation. of cooperation over control. The new government they created that day was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of a small group making decisions for everyone, the assembly operated on consensus. Every species had a voice. Every idea was considered. Every innovation was shared. Dr. Yoon Hanna, now the galaxy's leading expert on consciousness technology, was working with scientists from 50 different races. Together, they were developing technologies that none of them could have imagined alone. Engineer Kim Won-ho had opened the largest research facility in galactic history. Young beings from across the galaxy came there to learn not just human methods, but techniques from every alliance species. Captain Nom Sora, promoted to general, was training the first truly integrated military force. Soldiers from different species learned each other's fighting styles, creating new tactics that combined the best of every military tradition. But the real victory was smaller and quieter. On Colony New Sol, human children played with young Keth, learning each other's languages and sharing each other's games. On the ocean world of Depth, human swimmers learned to communicate with the ocean dwellers in their underwater cities. In the crystal caves of Silicon Prime, human artists worked with artificial intelligences to create art that bridged the gap. Between organic and digital life, the galaxy had become a place where difference was celebrated instead of feared. President Kim Soo-jin, now president of the Free Systems Alliance, was reading the latest reports from across Allied space. Food production was up 400% thanks to cooperation between human farmers and tree people botanists. Faster-than-light travel had improved so much that crossing the galaxy took days instead of months. Medical advances were eliminating diseases that had plagued alien races for millennia. "Ma'am," her aide said, "we're receiving a message from the edge of the galaxy. Long-range sensors have detected signals from an unknown civilization." Kim smiled. "First contact protocols." The assembly has voted to send a joint expedition. Human diplomats, Kef scientists, wanderer navigators, and representatives from 12 other species. Good. When we meet these new people, they'll see what the galaxy can accomplish when we work together. As the New Hope prepared for its journey to the edge of known space, Admiral Yu reflected on how much had changed. 2 years ago, humans had stood alone against the galaxy's most powerful forces. Today, they stood with friends from across the stars, ready to explore new worlds and meet new civilizations as partners, not conquerors. The galaxy had trembled when humanity stood alone. Now, it sang with the voices of 1,000 different species, all working together toward a future brighter than any of them could build alone. The age of councils and control was over. The age of cooperation had begun. And it would last forever.